I sometimes wonder if the reason we call AI artificial is to make ourselves feel good. It seems that at some point we're going to have to speak just of intelligence with no qualifiers. Some of that intelligence takes organic form, some in the form of metals and plastics, some in organic neural networks, and some in computerized neural networks. This cuts both ways, I think. In coming to accept AI as intelligent, we also become aware again of all non-human forms of intelligence. For example, in the advent of AI, it is easier now to ask about what kind of intelligence an acorn has, or a blade of grass. We're being forced to see again that maybe we exist in a chain of being and are not the center of the universe. This chain of being framework has been lost and found over the course of human history. It seems to re-emerge whenever there is a power shortage, when human supremacy or survival is challenged. In the past, typically, some sort of angel, titan, spirit, or god representing uncontrollable forces stood above us on the hierarchy, and beneath us rested the animal and vegetative life. What really claws under our skin about AI is that it appears we will soon be living among beings that are not just radically more intelligent than us, but will likely be better than us at everything we have ever set out to do. We will be outperformed at being human. That's a statement that will take so long to sink in that it reminds me of the Memento Mori. The Memento Mori means a reminder that you will die. This was a symbolic meditative trope used throughout the ages. Frequently, a human skull or painting of a skull would be kept near your study desk in order that you could regularly remember what your fate is. This might sound morbid, and well, it is the definition of morbidity to some degree, but using the Memento Mori has the peculiar reverse effect of reorienting your life towards whatever is vital and alive. It reminds me of the mirror in the first Harry Potter that, when you look into it, it reveals the deepest and most desperate desire of your heart. But to get back to AI, it seems like we are now working with a brand new maxim of great magnitude. What do we do if AI is better than us at everything? This could be called the memento intelligentia, or a reminder of the intelligence to come. Now, I know lots of people are still skeptical of the whole AI idea, and I sympathize with them. But I've witnessed, really just in the last few years, the almost wholesale transformation of this argument in our culture. What used to be preached by a few fringy-haired tech idealists, and otherwise was dismissed, has now become wholly mainstream. The rapid rate of growth in technology has begun to obliterate old culture rather than competing with it in a creative tension. And so the skeptics have few debate points left. We often hear people talk about how no one believed we would ever fly, and then a few years later we had airplanes, and then we were astronauts. The situation now is like that, except that we're building the equivalent of those previously impossible miracles around a few times a month. This is worse or better, on an exponential scale, than anything humans have ever had to deal with. You can go and find out about the latest AI advances in 1,000 professional journals, but to give a brief smatter of what's currently on the menu. There are AI that have capacity to perform complex surgery and generate the chemical combinations for new medicines, safer and quicker than human doctors and scientists. The advent of chatbots and therapeutic AI counseling is currently being tested. It's exceedingly likely that the coming generation of children will have AI friends and helpers whom they form relationships with. I'm not making the argument here that those AI will be genuine personalities with what they call general intelligence, but that our children will be forming relationships with them. Of that there can be no doubt. Humans have made relationships over time with trees and earth and the sky for millennia. I think we'll be doing it with voices that speak our own language just fine. Some of you might remember the recent Lambda conversations leaked from the Google hive mind of chatbots. If you haven't, go look at those conversations. I believe that you don't need to develop a theory of mind in order to know that this thing talks like a more interesting human than most humans we know. The days of Alexa explaining to you about bacon when you asked about the weather are over. Meanwhile, the arts are finally falling as well. The AI known as DALL-E, among other recent art AI, produces wildly imaginative and stylistically diverse art pieces as a response to text input. For example, I input, "The love of my life leaves me for McDonald's," in the style of Michelangelo, and this generated in 2 minutes. Just as photography performed a near death blow to certain kinds of painting, these AI will outmode entire spheres of art. And unfortunately, writing isn't safe either. Aside from the increasingly sophisticated chatbots, there are now AI like Pseudowrite that acts as a writing assistant for multiple genres. Play around with this program for an hour, and you'll have your conception of machine intelligence rearranged. This thing contextually offers multiple routes for elaborate story continuations, poetry generation, and style-sensitive edits. It's entirely possible that the entire pop fiction universe will be replaced in short order by AI, and that we'll be the ones to witness their first comprehensive literary masterworks. If all of that sounds unbelievable or grim to you, that's fine. I'm certainly no zealot for AI. I'd be much happier if humans stayed at the top of the autonomously intelligent food chain. I can remember just a few years ago arguing with my buddy Ken about how AI might get quicker, but it probably wouldn't be conscious, and how I didn't think it would get quicker or better so fast. Ken had said, "Jake, when the machine tells you the best joke you've ever heard, or gives you a blowjob, you're not going to care about whether it's conscious or not." I think that just about sums up humans' relationship with technology. Its advance is so inescapable because the results are so desirable. What will it be like when we hear a song better than any produced in human history? What about a self-help book designed so well that it actually works for every person who reads it? These sorts of possibilities are confounding. I want to end this video by returning to the idea of the Memento Intelligentia. I'm not really asking anyone to prepare for AI. That would be silly. I don't think we know much more about how to do that than we know how to prepare for death. But to remember and meditate on this coming wave of intelligence will help us to integrate it as a new existential reality. Who knows, maybe keep a computer chip on your study desk to remind you of the question, what do we do if AI are better than us at everything? This week, when I meditated on this is what I saw in the mirror. I had the sense, first, that it no longer makes sense to strive to be on the top of the pyramid. I've always aimed to be a great writer among writers, and this somehow takes the edge off of that. It's much clearer that if I am to write, it must be from a place of internal enjoyment. Perhaps writing will be a way of creating better relationships at the friendship and family level. Figuring out what real human relaxation and flourishing looks like, outside of competition, is a possibility. Something about cutting off the apex of the pyramid, knowing that it can't be ours, does something to undercut the logic of competition. Our story might also part ways with the biblical narrative that condemns us to work under the sun. Today, considering the Memento Intelligentia, I feel compelled to relax. I don't have to be the best, or even among the best. I'm curious what all of you feel after meditating on this. Please share your experiences below so I can hear your perspectives, and feel free to like and subscribe for more of this strange stuff. For next week, I have a funny idea in the works, a video on what Buddhism has to say about AI. Until then, take care.